I don't know about you, but I really enjoy reading The Chicken Soup for the Soul and all of the different variety of books that they have out. And I don't have much time to read since I am so busy as a mom of 3, but when I do have time to read, I will like to share with others, and hopefully others can listen to them maybe while they're busy doing laundry or dishes or just driving to and from kids' activities, and you're able to listen to some of these stories. That's what I really like to do. Here it says, what people are saying about Chicken Soup for the Mother's Soul too. Chicken Soup for the Mother's Soul has reminded me that the privilege of being my children's mother is the greatest role I will ever play. And the whispers of love transcribed on their hearts are the most important words I will author. This is by Lisa Whitchell, actress Blair on The Facts of Life. Author, creative correction. Extraordinary ideas for everyday discipline. And then one of the most crucial needs in the career of motherhood is inspiration. This book is a great resource for exactly that. That's by Linda Erie. This book is an inspirational read for moms trying to juggle their multiple roles. Its heartwarming stories offer a peaceful respite in our busy lives and celebrate the special spirit of motherhood. By Ellen Paralapiano and Patricia Colby. What a gift for all mothers. You'll love the stories of mother's wisdom, miracles, precious moments, and the power of a mother's love by Bobby McCaughey. We dedicate this book with love to everyone's mother, including Mother Earth. Enough with the chicken soup for the soul. How about some pizza for the sun? That little boy, that's a cute picture. Okay, the first one is on love, The Call at Midnight. Let's see here. Get through the acknowledgments, introduction. Here is a African proverb. A mother is not to be compared with any other person. She is incomparable. And it's important to remember that. It is that no mother should be compared with any other person, because in reality, nobody should be compared with another person, because everybody has lived different lives, different parents. My parents divorced when I was 5, and so everybody comes from different places, and it's important that we just don't compare ourselves with others. Here it says, there is no one like a mother. Our mothers give us life. They love us, take care of us, and want the best for us, no matter how old we are. They never stop being our mothers. There is no way to adequately describe the gift they have given us, and no other experience in the world compares to being a mother. Being pregnant, going through labor, and childbirth. And for both adoptive and biological mothers, seeing your baby's face for the very first time, these powerful occurrences are just the start of the uniquely compelling role in life we call motherhood. It is because mothers have such a special place in our hearts that the first Chicken Soup for the Mother's Soul was created. This book, Chicken Soup for the Mother's Soul 2, was put together to answer the overwhelming demand of readers around the world who loved our first Chicken Soup book for mothers and wanted another helping. The books can be enjoyed in any order. You don't have to read the first book first. According to our readers, once you read one, you'll be hungry for more. Whether you are a mother or treasure your relationship with your mother, the stories in this book will delight, inspire, move, and touch you. For sons and daughters, these stories showcase the many ways mothers enrich our lives. For mothers, these true life tales celebrate and acknowledge the multifaceted and demanding nature of your role. Who else must juggle all the jobs necessary to raise a family in this day and age? At any given time, a mother may be called upon to be a breadwinner, food provider, chauffeur, dishwasher, maid, social secretary, nurse, cheerleader, disciplinarian, personal shopper, confidant, and so on. Sometimes a mother must perform all these jobs at once. It's clear that mothers are the original multitaskers. These different aspects of a mother's life are described in various chapters of Chicken Soup for the Mother's Soul, too. The first chapter contains stories about the most fundamental ingredient of human life, love. These stories highlight the bond of love that connects mothers to their children. We also, sorry, the sun is in my eyes. Okay. We also have included chapters about mothers' courage in the face of challenge, about the wisdom mothers share with their children, about miracles, about those special moments that create our fondest memories, and about the amazing process of becoming a mother, either through birth or adoption. We've added a chapter called Mothers and Daughters dedicated to the special relationship mothers and daughters share. Our chapter on motherhood touches on a wide variety of subjects, some humorous, some poignant, and all of which will resonate with mothers everywhere. The chapter Letting Go includes stories that deal with losing a mother or a child. This chapter provides comfort and inspiration to mothers and children coping with these devastating losses. No book about mothers would be complete without tributes to our moms. So our final chapter, Thank You, Mom, is a collection of stories that express gratitude for the priceless gifts bestowed by mothers. This entire book was created as a tribute to mothers of all ages and to serve as a source of inspiration, a sharing of experiences, and a comfort in tough times. In addition, we hope that this book will provide practical wisdom for mothers. Carol's mother, after reading our initial manuscript, wrote Carol the following note: "There are lots of things in these stories that I wish I had done as a mother. There are still things I can do. One thing I'm going to do is tell my children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren how much I love them and how much they mean to me. Our sincere desire is that everyone reading this book is moved in a similar way." The question remains, how can we ever adequately thank our mothers for the gift of life and unconditional love? How can we honor our daughters, wives, friends, and other relatives who are mothers for the enormously important job they do? To start, we can remember to express all the love and gratitude we feel for them. In addition, we at Chicken Soup offer this bouquet of stories to mothers and their children everywhere. We hope it will warm your heart, make you laugh, and give mothers a renewed sense of purpose and courage to continue what so many feel is life's most rewarding and challenging occupation. And this book and compilation of all the stories is written by Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, Marcy Shimoff, and Carol Klein. Share with us. We would love to hear your reactions to the stories in this book. Please let us know what your favorite stories were and how they affected you. Also, please send us stories you would like to see published in future editions of Chicken Soup for the Mother's Soul. You can send us stories you have written or ones you have read and liked. And this here is the address. And you can also visit the website chickensoup.com. All right, number 1. On love. When Mother Teresa received her Nobel Prize, she was asked, "What can we do to promote world peace?" She replied, "Go home and love your family." Call your mother. Next exit. That one is pretty funny. I like that. The call at midnight. One of the oldest human needs is having someone to wonder where you are and when you don't come home at night. Margaret Mead. Let's see. We all know what it's like to get that phone call in the middle of the night. This night's call was no different. Jerking up to the ringing summons, I focused on the red illuminated numbers on my clock. Midnight. Panicky thoughts filled my sleep-dazed mind as I grabbed the receiver. "Hello," my heart pounded. I gripped the phone tighter and eyed my husband, who was now turning to face my side of the bed. "Mama?" I could hardly hear the whisper over the static, but my thoughts immediately went to my daughter. When the desperate sound of a young crying voice became clearer on the line, I grabbed for my husband and squeezed his wrist. "Mama, I know it's late, but don't say anything until I finish. And before you ask, yes, I've been drinking. I nearly ran off the road a few miles back, and I drew in a sharp, shallow breath, released my husband, and pressed my hand against my forehead. Sleep still fogged my mind, and I attempted to fight back the panic. Something wasn't right, and I got so scared all I could think about was how it would hurt you if a policeman came to your door and said I'd been killed. I want to come home. I know running away was wrong. I know you've been worried sick. I should have called you days ago, but I was afraid. Sobs of deep felt emotion flowed from the receiver and poured into my heart. Immediately, I pictured my daughter's face in my mind, and my fogged senses seemed to clear. "No, please let me finish, please," she pleaded, not so much in anger, but in desperation. I paused and tried to think of what to say. Before I could go on, she continued, "I'm pregnant, Mama. I know I shouldn't be drinking now, especially now, but I'm scared, Mama, so scared." The voice broke again, and I bit into my lip, feeling my own eyes fill with moisture. I looked at my husband, who sat silently, mouthing, "Who is it?" I shook my head, and when I didn't answer, he jumped up and left the room, returning seconds later with the portable phone held to his ear. She must have heard the click in the line because she continued, "Are you still there? Please don't hang up on me. I need you. I feel so alone." I clutched the phone and stared at my husband, seeking guidance. "I'm here. I wouldn't hang up," I said. "I should have told you, Mama. I know I should have told you, but when we talk, you just keep telling me what I should do. You read all those pamphlets on how to talk about sex and all, but all you do is talk. You don't listen to me. You never let me tell you how I feel. It is as if my feelings aren't important, because you're my mother. You think you have all the answers. But sometimes I don't need answers. I just want someone to listen." I swallowed the lump in my throat and stared at the How to Talk to Your Kids pamphlets scattered on my nightstand. "I'm listening," I whispered. "You know, back there on the road, after I got the car under control, I started thinking about the baby and taking care of it. Then I saw this phone booth, and it was as if I could hear you preaching about how people shouldn't drink and drive. So I called a taxi. I want to come home." "That's good, honey," I said, relief filling my chest. My husband came closer, sat down beside me, and laced his fingers through mine. I knew from his touch that he thought I was doing and saying the right thing. "But you know, I think I can drive now." "No!" I snapped. My muscles stiffened, and I tightened the clasp on my husband's hand. "Please, wait for the taxi. Don't hang up on me until the taxi gets there." "I just want to come home, Mama." "I know, but do this for your Mama. Wait for the taxi, please." I listened to the silence in fear. When I didn't hear her answer, I bit into my lip and closed my eyes. Somehow I had to stop her from driving. "There's the taxi now." Only when I heard someone in the background asking about a yellow cab did I feel my tension easing. "I'm coming home, Mama." There was a click, and the phone went silent. Moving from the bed, tears forming in my eyes, I walked out into the hall and went to stand in my 16-year-old daughter's room. The dark silence hung thick. My husband came from behind, wrapped his arms around me, and rested his chin on the top of my head. I wiped the tears from my cheeks. "We have to learn to listen," I said to him. He pulled me around to face him. "We'll learn, you'll see." Then he took me into his arms, and I buried my head in his shoulder. I let him hold me for several moments. Then I pulled back and stared back at the bed. He studied me for a second, then asked, "Do you think she'll ever know she dialed the wrong number?" I looked at our sleeping daughter, then back at him. Maybe it wasn't such a wrong number. Mom, Dad, what are you doing? The muffled young voice came from under the covers. I walked over to my daughter, who now sat up staring into the darkness. We're practicing, I answered. Practicing what? She mumbled and laid back on the mattress, her eyes already closed in slumber. Listening, I whispered and brushed a hand over her cheek. That was an interesting story. A Mother's Love. I am convinced that the greatest legacy we can leave our children is happy memories. By Og Mandino. When I think of Clara Hardin's family, happiness is what comes to mind. The sound of laughter always greeted my visits. Their lifestyle was so very different from mine. Clara's mother believed nurturing the mind was more important than trivial chores. Housekeeping wasn't a high priority. With 5 children ranging in age from Clara, the oldest, at 12 to a 2-year-old baby, this lack of order sometimes bothered me, but never for long. Their home was always in some state of chaos, with at least one person's life in crisis, real or imagined. But I loved being a part of the boisterous bunch with their carefree, upbeat attitude toward life. Clara's mother was never too busy for us. She'd stop ironing to help with the cheerleading project, or switch off the vacuum cleaner and call us all to trek into the woods to gather specimens for a child's science project. You never know what you might do when you visited there. Their lives were filled with fun and love, lots of love. So the day the Hardin children stepped off the school bus with red, swollen eyes, I knew something was desperately wrong. I rushed to Clara, pulled her aside, begging to hear what had happened, but not prepared for her answer. The night before, Clara's mother had told them she had a terminal brain tumor, with only months to live. I remember that morning so well. Clara and I went behind the school building, where we sobbed, holding each other, not knowing how to stop the unbelievable pain. We stayed there, sharing our grief until the bell rang for the first period. Several days passed before I visited the Hardin home again, dreading the sorrow and gloom and filled with enormous guilt that my life was the same. I stalled until my mother convinced me that I couldn't neglect my friend and her family in their time of sadness. So I visited. When I entered the Hardin house, to my surprise and delight, I heard lively music and voices raised in animated discussion with lots of giggles and groans. Mrs. Hardin sat on the sofa playing a game of Monopoly with her children gathered round. Everybody greeted me with smiles as I struggled to hide my bewilderment. This wasn't what I had expected. Finally, Clara freed herself from the game, and we went off to her room, where she explained. Her mother had told them that the greatest gift they could give her would be to carry on as if nothing was amiss. She wanted her last memories to be happy, so they had agreed to try their hardest. One day, Clara's mother invited me for a special occasion. I rushed over to find her wearing a large gold turban. She explained that she'd decided to wear this instead of a wig now, and her hair was falling out, or that her hair was falling out. She placed beads, glue, colored markers, scissors, and cloth on the table, and instructed us to decorate it. While she sat like a regal Maharaja, we turned the plain turban into a thing of gaudy beauty, each adding his or her own touch. Even as we squabbled over where the next bauble should be placed, I was conscious of how pale and fragile Miss Hardin appeared. Afterwards, we had our picture taken with Clara's mother, each pointing proudly to her contribution to the turban. A fun memory to cherish, even though the unspoken fear of her leaving us wasn't far beneath the surface. Finally, the sad day arrived when Clara's mother died. In the weeks that followed, the Hardins' sorrow and pain were impossible to describe. Then one day I arrived at school to see an animated Clara laughing, gesturing excitedly to her classmates. I heard her mother's name mentioned frequently. The old Clara was back. When I reached her side, she explained her happiness. That morning, dressing her little sister for school, she'd found a funny note her mother had hidden in the child's socks. It was like having her mother back again. That afternoon, the Hardin family tore their house apart, hunting messages. Each new message was shared, but some went undetected. At Christmas time, when they retrieved the decorations from the attic, they found a wonderful Christmas message. In the years that followed, messages continued sporadically. One even arrived on Clara's graduation day and another on her wedding day. Her mother had entrusted the letters to friends who delivered them on each special day. Even the day Clara's first child was born, a card and poignant message arrived. Each child received these short, funny notes or letters filled with love until the last reached adulthood. Mr. Hardin remarried, and on his wedding day, a friend presented him with a letter from his wife to be read to his children, in which she wished him happiness and instructed her children to envelop their new stepmother in love, because she had great faith that their father would never choose a woman who wouldn't be kind and loving to her precious children. I've often thought of the pain Clara's mother must have experienced as she wrote these letters to her children. I also imagine the mischievous joy she felt when she hid these little notes. But through it all, I've marveled at the wondrous memories she left those children, despite the pain she quietly suffered and the anguish she must have felt leaving her adored family. Those unselfish acts exemplify the greatest mother's love I've ever known. Pat Lay.